Hi, it's Ramesha here with Vocal Bliss. I would like to talk about a topic that unfortunately seems to still be quite confusing for a lot of people, and even people I work with. I find it hard sometimes to help them understand, and this is seamless transitions, transitioning seamlessly from your chest to your head voice. But before we dive into it, as usual, please make sure you subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of my future videos. So I'll try to break down the explanation of how to transition seamlessly in very easy steps so that hopefully everything will be very clear for everyone. So first of all, I want to mention that your chest voice, meaning your lower range, and your high voice, your upper range, imagine them as two different voices. It's like, I don't know, it's like you had two throats and you're producing sounds in one way with one throat and another type of sound in another way with another throat. And so when we work on developing our chest voice and our head voice, when you start to work on it, you'll realize right away that you're really producing the sound of your voice in two very distinct ways. So, what every singer is called to do, and this is what vocal training is for, is basically to develop these two different voices and then try to merge them together as to create the illusion that it's only one voice. Because ultimately, the goal is to be able to sing from your lowest to your highest note, maintaining the same tone quality, maintaining the same sound, basically, even though the two sounds are produced very differently. And in the beginning, they also sound very different. The chest voice generally is stronger, fuller, more grounded. The head voice is thin, weak, a little airy up there. So we have to develop it, but then we have to be able to merge them. So how do you merge them? How do we do that? So as you approach your break point, which is different for different voices, if you're a soprano, an alto, tenor, bass, your break point will be in a different area of the range. And I talk about area because even among, for example, tenors, the break point is not exactly in the same place. It varies a little bit. So let's talk about areas of transitions rather than one specific note. But as you approach that area, and you know you're approaching it because gradually you can tell that you're going higher and higher, and you feel more and more tension in the throat. Why do you feel more and more tension? Primarily, it's because the larynx, this organ here, I want to say Adam's apple, but that wouldn't apply to ladies. But still, everybody has a larynx, and it's this bony area here. As you go higher, this area, the larynx, tends to rise gradually. And then once it reaches, your chin, basically, the voice, generally speaking, the voice breaks. So you go, ah, it's at some point, this can go any higher. And so the voice tends to break and you don't know what to do to go higher. So the thing to do as you approach that area gradually is to create more and more space in the back of your throat. And this is done by gradually opening the back of the throat like going into a yawn. So, ah, and not ah, ah, ah. So you have this open throat, open mouth a little bit, but especially open throat that will allow you to then connect the two registers much, much better. The yawn will allow you to keep the larynx low. If you put your finger on your larynx and then yawn, you see what happens? The larynx goes down. So by gradually going more and more into a yawn when you're singing, you allow the larynx to stay more stable and to not rise too high. And that is what allows you to sing higher notes in your lower range, in your chest voice, without the voice breaking. So, oh, I'm going more into a yawn. It's not oh, oh. See the difference? If I yawn, the voice, the larynx moves down. So once you reach that point, at some point you have to transition, but so the way you transition is basically you're in this position. If this is your larynx from the side, you're in this position. You're in the yawn position, and gradually you feel this tilt movement of tilting forward like this. And this is what you do to transition. Basically, you activate certain muscles, and the larynx tilts forward. And what that does, it allows the vocal cords to get stretched out even more in order to sing higher note. If you think of a string instrument, if you stretch the string, meaning you tense the string more and more, it produces higher and higher sounds. But so in order to do this with your vocal cords, you have to get into that right position. What makes the transition tricky is that this movement and these muscles pulling and stretching out your vocal cords, all this has to happen with a certain coordination. And that coordination usually is missing when you're at the beginning of your training, because you don't know what to do. And so when you sing in this area of the range, make sure you can look in the mirror. Make sure that your larynx stays more or less stable. It's not like it cannot move even by 1 inch, but make sure that it doesn't rise too high, because if it does, the voice breaks. This is why untrained singers, when they sing high notes, they go like this, because the larynx pushes against the chin and they're trying to give it more space, but there's only so much space you can give. So practice going into the yawn. So and not okay. Approach that area with going gradually into the yawn. And then gradually you're able to transition. And when you do it this way, honestly, you can hardly tell that you transition. If you do like a siren, I don't know where I transitioned. I know I transitioned because I'm able to hit high notes, but I don't know where exactly. It's just a gradual process. So remember, one key point about singing high notes is space. So when you approach the break point and you gradually go into the yawn, you have your mouth open and you're gradually creating space in the back of the throat. Once you've transitioned, your mouth is still open, but it doesn't need to be too open. For one thing, there's only so much you can open, but it's more important to open the back of the throat. So if this is your mouth and this is your throat, if you open your mouth wide or you open the back of the throat, but you can't open both because you can't dislocate your jaw. So your mouth will be open at first, and then gradually it stays open, but it doesn't open too much, and then the back of your throat will gradually expand. And once you're in your head voice, your throat will stay open, will stay in the yawn, and you'll just continue up there. So I hope this helps. I'm always trying to find the best possible explanation, especially visually, trying to explain what's happening, because a lot of people rely on that. We don't really know what's happening in here. So to have a visual of something to be able to visualize can be helpful for a lot of you. So I hope this is helpful. So thank you for watching. If you found the video interesting and helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.